It all works out when you decide to make it work out. Working out really ultimately just means going the way that you intended and planned, or at least desired. And if you have the perception that things aren't working out, that's just a perception. God has a divine plan and intention and purpose assigned for every single aspect of all creation imaginable, and everything is working harmoniously at all times to your maximal benefit. That's how the universe is structured. God doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't do anything imperfectly. And everything is working out according to God's will. So fundamentally, we can choose to surf that wave. We can choose to surrender our little tiny ego mind identity with its wanting for things to go a specific way and its existential dissatisfaction and lack and feeling not enough and not worthy of things going how we actually want. We can go that path. But there's another path. It's the path of surrender. I now choose to surrender my will and my life to God. And God, I humbly ask that all that need be seen, for thy will over my will to be done. God, I humbly ask that all that need be felt, for thy will over my will to be done. And God, I humbly ask that all that need be known, for thy will over my will to be done. When you intentionally choose to surrender your little baby will, the little, things are going my way, will, to the capital G God, everything tends to work out better than you could possibly have ever imagined in the first place. And I can give you a story, an example of this. My first business, TT Coins, you can see YouTube videos on this very channel. I was really fucking passionate and excited about it. I fucking loved precious metals. The idea of using precious metals and gold and silver as a means to preserve one's wealth and pass down wealth between generations, liberty, sound money, economics, the whole thing. I loved it. Right when I realized that if I just keep going, everything that I want will come into fruition. I started making good money. I started achieving some degree of influence. Hit my first 1,000 followers on Instagram, first 1,000 followers on Facebook. I was doing well, but right when I realized that I was doing well, my motivation to continue went from right up here to zero, none. Existentially depressed, bedridden, sleeping 12 to 14 hours a day, unable to really function or do anything. And it happened like that. Poof. And I couldn't make heads or tails sense of that at all. Why the fuck, if I'm literally doing the thing that is most aligned with my passion, most aligned with my skill sets, far, far better alternative than going to college and wasting, another $100,000 on some 4-year engineering degree so I can push pencils and be a human calculator, a cog in a corporate machine. Far better than all alternatives that I can presently imagine. This is my 20-year-old self, mind you. Why in the world would I not feel motivated? Why in the world would that energy, that spark just dissipate? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it only didn't make sense from my limited ego's perspective. Like I said earlier, everything in the universe is going perfectly harmoniously, always working out according to God's will. So what I ultimately realized is like, oh my God, there's aspects of me that need healing. Wow. I can go to therapy. I can get help. I don't have to do it all on my own. I don't have to figure out what the fuck's going on in this crazy high IQ noggin of tangled knots by myself. So I got help. And I found a alternative to college by the grace of God named Praxis that paired me up with an apprenticeship doing sales in Atlanta. I was working at a tech company. I was pounding the phone, making my first 10,000 cold calls, calling IT directors and CIOs and pitching them on third party data center maintenance services. I still remember my pitch. Hi, Steve. I'm calling because I was doing some research and I noticed you have a sysadmin named Chuck who says that you guys have some VNX 5300s in your disaster recovery site. And I'm curious if maybe you've ever explored using third party maintenance for your storage environment. I go, no. And then we launch into the pitch from there. It's doing some basic research, knowing what they have, having a tailored value proposition um, going into the call, right? That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about in sales, man. Is knowing who the fuck you're talking to and knowing how you can help them before you even initiate the conversation. So I found those opportunities. I found that program that paired me up with an apprenticeship. I built a bunch of skill sets that were truly invaluable in my life path. And none of that would have ever happened had I not seemingly encountered a problem, seemingly lost all motivation to continue moving forward, seemingly given up on my dreams. That's what it looked like. That's what it looks like when you're giving up. It looks like you have to give something up, but you're not. You can't really ultimately lose anything. You can only exchange energy into from one form into another. Detox tea, baby. Shout out to Eliza. You can only exchange energy from one form into another, and your primary currency is your attention. So I just stopped paying attention to that business and started paying attention to praxis and data center maintenance, IT infrastructure sales. I started paying attention to doing stuff that actually made me money. And I started making money. And it worked out pretty well for a number of years. But everything has to work out according to God's will. It can't not. Anything that appears to be a challenge or a setback is just God's will. It's just the incalculable number of universal forces, everything from the gusts of wind right now that are glancing off of the peak of Mount Everest that 31 years from now will have a subtle effect on the sea level in a specific region that'll topple over a surfboarder who will then almost drown but not drown and then find a renewed purpose for his life because of some fucking gust of wind that started 30 years ago halfway around the world. You can't know what God's will and God's plan and God's intention is. It's not linear. And it operates at such a level of complexity that even when we have ASI, artificial superintelligence, that's a billion times more intelligent than the entire human species combined, it'll pale in comparison. It'll be the faintest echo of magnitude of intelligence compared to the actual universe itself. The faintest echo of magnitude compared to God's wisdom. And so when we just surrender into God's plan, trusting that it always works out. Because it does. It can't not. By definition, it always works out. Miracles ensue. But it's up to you to choose to believe it. You don't have to. You can ignore that idea. And that's perfectly fine. But if you do want to sincerely believe, it always works out. What you can do is this. You can literally just close your eyes and you can say these words out loud. I welcome and love that it always works out. And you can feel that current of love literally physically land in your body when you say, I welcome and love that it always works out. You can tangibly feel it, and it feels quite lovely. And if a belief, ultimately, not a lot of people understand this yet, but they will. If a belief ultimately is just an intention fueled by energy that you store in your body, this is why limiting beliefs like I'm not good enough feel bad, because the intention I'm not good enough is bound like a spell to energy of fear, sadness, pain, contraction. And that's the fuel that's fueling energetically that belief. So a belief is just an intention. It always works out. Or I'm not good enough. Doesn't matter what intention you pick, it's just an intention that's being fueled by energy. Can't you just pick love as the energy that fuels your intentions? Can't you just choose to come from a place of love? Can't you just choose to feel love whenever you want? And if you don't yet know that you can, again, you can just say out loud, I welcome in the feeling of love. And you can feel your body start to relax, and you can feel it start to expand. I'll make another video about that specifically. But just know that it always works out. Everything's working out on the highest imaginable timeline for you right now. And no matter how bad it looks like from your perspective, nothing is either good nor bad. In fact, nothing means anything. Good and bad is just a judgment. It's just a definition that you superimpose upon your experience. It's a spell that you're casting on yourself, fundamentally, when you judge things as good or bad. But you don't have to. You can just accept what is, be present in the moment. Oh, disaster striking? Not really. It's God's will. Be blessed. Heaven, yes.